this weird wet weekend, I thought what better thing to do than to make an alternative baby, and I have settled on making an avatar. What I did was I went through all of my sculpts and I said which one of these babies would make a good avatar, and Lane from Bountiful Babies screamed out to me and said, look at me, I'm a natural, I'm an avatar. And it's true, and I happen to really love this sculpt. I'm going to say some not super flattering things about this baby, but please understand I really love this sculpt. I've made it so many times, and I've actually made this baby for 3 film projects. So that being said, the ears on this baby are not very realistic. There's not a lot of detail on hands and feet. But for this project, it's perfect. And for film, this baby works great. It's just the proportions and the way he looks. Now, one of the reasons why I really love this baby, and I'm going to geek out for a minute, is because I like, you know, watching all those great shows about Egypt and Egyptian history. And my favorite is Akhenaten and Nefertiti. And I can't help but think this is what one of their kids would have looked like. It's just that kind of that elongated head and the way his face looks. End of my geek there. So I'm using Lane from Bountiful Baby for this project, and the bonus is I have 2, so if I screw up, I have a backup plan. I am going to use the leaf belly plate. Now, let me stop there for a second, put a pin in that, and say that I have challenged myself to only use what I have in my studio. I am not going to order anything on Amazon. I am not running off to the craft store. I am not making any purchases from any reborn baby place. I'm just using what I have. I have a well-equipped studio because this is where I work, and I do a lot of weird projects, and so I have a lot of stuff that most people don't have in their workspace. So I'm lucky. What I did, and you don't have to, is I cut off Lane's ears. Actually, I kind of wish I didn't, but I did, so I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I just used an X-Acto blade and it cut off his ear, and I did not film it because it was just kind of a nightmare. But I modified his ears using Aves epoxy sculpt. I love this stuff. I've been using it a long time. I got turned onto it several years ago by an artist friend of mine named Michael DeMang. He is an amazing artist, and I'll try to remember to put his name down in the comments box for you so you can check out his art. But this stuff is great for modifying projects. I just love it, or for repairing things. So what I did was I got that epoxy sculpt, and you know, it operates like clay, but when it dries, it looks like this, but when it dries, it's super hard. And it's super durable. I worked very thin, so my pieces are fragile. And again, it wasn't fun, and it's an advanced move. I don't recommend it. Unless you have a lot of sculpting experience, just go ahead and use the baby the way he is. And I'll give you a quick peek at what's going on here. Last night, I sculpted his ears. They dried and they were perfect, but then I popped them off because I wanted to sand them just a tiny bit. I don't want them to be perfectly smooth. I want all those little fine little details to be in there. But you can see even from here, they're a little bit translucent. Working thin with this stuff is not fun. And so then I E6000 them to his head last night, and they're still not sticking this morning, so I'm going a second round. Cross my fingers this works. If it doesn't, I'm just gonna go ahead and use my spare head and do it just that way. So the plan is I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. I'm gonna paint this baby, like I said, using stuff I have in my studio. I'm gonna do air dry, AKA acrylic paint. I'm not using anything expensive. This is craft paint. For the pink, I'm gonna just use my tube of Liquitex that I have. And for my blues, I found these colors in my drawer, and I really liked them. They said Avatar to me. The company is Handmade Modern. They're satin acrylic paints. It looks like I've never used them before, so hopefully they go on as creamy as they look in the bottle. They look pretty opaque. A lot of times with cheapy craft paint, it takes a lot of layers to get the color. So Lane is, I think, an 18 or a 19-inch baby. The bodies that came with him, or that were recommended when I bought the sculpt, they're a little bit long and puffy for me. and I've used those bodies before and sold the baby and people were happy. But for this project, I'm going to use the 15 to 17 inch body by Bountiful Baby. It's their new design. I know a lot of people hate it, but I love it. And I'll probably go into more of it later when I'm putting him together. But I just like the way the body's contoured. I think it's gonna look good. The bonus is that I get to use this belly plate, which I already had, and this is for Leaf. And I really wanted to do a belly plate. And that's what I'm gonna use. What else? Oh, I'm gonna have to prime that baby. And I looked up and it looks like everybody's using like a glass and tile primer. I don't have it and I'm not going out to the store to buy it. So I'm gonna use MSC spray. This is from Japan. You need to use it with a respirator because you don't want this stuff in your lungs. But it's what I have, so it's what I'm going to use. And that's about it. I think what I'm gonna do now is wait for those ears to dry. I'm gonna wash up this baby. I'm gonna take him outside. I'm gonna prime him and bring him back and we'll start painting. I am so excited. Let's get started. I got the baby parts all washed up and I sprayed them with primer. You can't even tell that it's on there, but I haven't done the head yet because I've been waiting to see if this E6000 is going to dry and if the ears are going to work. And I'm a little nervous, but I thought, hey, this will be fun. We'll figure it out together. So if it doesn't work, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go with the ears that came with Lane. So let me get some of this tape off. I over taped him because it wasn't sticking really well. Let's get some of this off. Last time I did this, the ears just fell right off, and so I did it one more time. Looks like they're sticking, we'll see. Last time I was fooled by it. But let's see if they stuck. Looks like they're sticking. Pretty messy though, and it's still gummy. So what I might have to do is just clean all this up. Can you see? It's just super gummy in there. That's messy. And then a lot of the epoxy stuck to the head. So I'm gonna have to clean all that off. I may use denatured alcohol. I'm guessing maybe that'll work. I think the ears are gonna stay. Ta-da! Again, they're not avatar ears. I kind of did my own take on them just because I figured an adult avatar would look different than a baby avatar. And we're talking about things that aren't real, but I'm having fun with it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and let that cure just a little while longer just to be sure. Then I'll clean up all the yuckiness and I'll start painting. If you want to get supplies ready, I've got a palette because I'm gonna play around with the colors. I've got, let me move the camera a little bit. I've got acrylic paints, just some random paint brushes. I'm not using anything nice that I care about all that much. And then we'll get started. Okay, we're back. I have that head. I had to, actually the ears fell off again, so I'm gluing it one more time and I have it outside. It's almost dried and I sprayed it with primer and I've started painting. I tried two separate things and one was going with a lighter blue and I made this color and I thought it would be perfect, but then when I went to go put it on the doll, it was way too pale. It looked kind of almost gray. So this color is Forget Me Not, and straight out of the jar, it's actually the perfect color. This is darker than I would have done, but when you pounce it on, it lightens up. So here is a leg that I did, and I did it first in this color, and it was too light, so I pounced over it with this color, and it turned out perfect. So I'm doing another leg with this just to see what it looks like. And all I'm doing is, and I'm using acrylic paint, and I'm doing it just like you would with Genesis Heat Set paint, actually. Excuse me, let me zip up my jacket. It's chilly out here today. And I just diluted it a little bit with some water because I don't want it too thick. And I'm just pouncing it on with a cosmetic sponge, believe it or not. And it's actually pretty awesome. I don't want to see that spongy texture, but I noticed that if you go over it a few times, it starts to go away a little bit. And again, we don't want this to look painted on, like, you know, you just took a brush and you painted a plastic doll. I want a little bit of that skin tone shining through. Obviously, acrylic is gonna dry in its own way, and I'm gonna do this little leg crease here. And this is what I did with the toes. I just sort of went in between any little creasy bit with a brush, and it dries really fast, believe it or not. I'll do a hand so you can see how I'm doing it. Again, just a little water and a little paint straight out of the container. And I'm painting it really thick the first time because I'm gonna pounce this all off the hand. And here we go. So it looks super thick, but then when you pounce it off, you're taking most of the paint off. So it's not a problem. And I don't want to do it to the larger areas because I don't want to see all kinds of brush strokes. And I think that's what I'll get. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's what I'm going to get. And I don't want to see brush strokes. I don't want to look like I just got a bucket of blue paint and poured it on a baby, dipped a baby in blue paint. I want there to be some variation. And so after I do this layer, I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit of a darker blue to that color and do some blushing, or not some blushing, some creasing, just like you would normally with a reborn baby. And just, you know, crease in some places, just so that it's not all, you know, one flat color. I'm gonna get a dry brush to sort of absorb some of that paint that's left in there. That looks just messy. I'm not gonna do any modeling. I don't think it's necessary. I think that a little bit of unevenness from the sponge looks good. I'll let this dry, and then see, the leg's already dry. I'm gonna give this a second layer. So after this, I'm gonna not make you watch me do a whole second layer on this baby, but after I'm done doing the second layer, I'm going to go in and make a creasing color and start creasing. I started creasing and this is what I got. If you've ever painted like using acrylics just to paint a picture, you'll know that acrylics don't blend nicely. You sometimes have to use a medium to help them blend because they dry really fast. And so I got this yuck and I thought, oh no. So what I did was I waited till that dried, and then I got some of the original color that I was using, and I just blotted it over the darker parts. And so it's starting to lighten up a little bit. And that's what I'm gonna show you here. So I got the sponge that I used originally, that forget-me-not color. After I mixed this is my creasing color, just a little bit lighter. I went back and I got the forget-me-not, and I watered it down a bit because I don't want it super thick. I put it on that wet sponge, and I just kind of went over that big blotchy area that was so sad to me, and all the like stainy areas where I tried to wipe it off and it just got a bunch of water stains. And I think what it's going to take is a couple layers of this original color. I'm going to try to feather it out a little bit over here. Anyway, that mellows it out a bit. I kind of like it. Probably it's going to take another layer. And again, it's just supposed to be a subtle deepening of color.